producer is, to me, mainly a facilitator, somebody that grabs an artist and whoever is financing the project, whether it's a record company, and facilitates what needs to happen between those two visions and puts it all together and makes it come out the other end. I think mixing is something else other than production. I mean, it's for me, it's one of my biggest assets as a producer is that I'm also a mixer. I don't think I'd be a very good producer if I wasn't a good mixer. A lot of great mixers who don't produce. There's a lot of great producers who don't mix. I do believe that mixing is an art form, like I believe that mastering is an art form. Like I don't master records, even though, I kind of know what the process is. I love handing that off to somebody and having them be responsible for the final product. The first thing I'll do, if it's something I've tracked or produced, like I already know the track, so I don't have to do it. If it's something I don't know, I'll just throw everything up and listen to the song, or if they have a rough mix, I'll listen to that. Just to hear the song. What's the aesthetic that I'm going for here? Is it something really big? Is it intimate? Is it, does it sound, retro? Is it super modern? Like what do we want this to be aesthetically? I'll treat a mix like a rough and just get the song kind of happening. And then once it's got a cool vibe, then I'll dig into the details of EQing and effects. Like I won't turn any effects on probably till about, a couple of hours into a mix. If you can make it feel and sound like a song quickly, then you can take care of, all the noises and the editing and, fine EQing and maybe effects. But that's the way I've approached it for years now. If there's a lot of stuff that requires the same thing, I'll bust it. I'll bust something out to groups. If it's something very specific, I'll do the processing on the channel. It just really depends on what the instrument is and what it calls for. And I think that's the thing is, especially for younger producers, that stack, like you're doing electronic music and you're stacking 6 or 7 sounds really to make one. Commit to that one sound. Don't. I don't like it like when I'm mixing for somebody and they're like, oh, I wanted to give you the option of, if in case you wanted to process this separately. And they had a very specific sound in mind. Either, they had 4 mics on a guitar amp and they had a blend that they liked, and they give me the 4 mics and I end up just turning 3 of them off because I don't know what they were hearing in the moment that they were tracking. So if you have something specific that you like, don't be so fearful of the mix process. Just bounce the stuff down or say, oh, this is the blend, process this equally. This makes up one sound, as opposed to, here's a bunch of different stuff, because it'll always sound better the way you were mixing it probably in your laptop than when you give it to a quote unquote professional mixer that doesn't know the way those blends should have worked. When you work with virtual instruments, to me, it's the same way as when I work with plugins. It's a tool. And it's a tool that opens up other possibilities. I think a lot of, especially with how good virtual instruments have gotten, I think a lot of it is very psychological by this point, especially when it comes to how people are going to perceive it. No one listening is going to know whether the piano was real or whether it came from a plugin. They're not going to be thinking about that when they hear a song. They're going to be either getting the emotion that was intended for them to get or not. So when you're working with virtual synths, don't look at what it's not doing. Look at what it is doing. Look at what you can do with, if you have like a Wurlitzer plugin, look at all the different permutations that you can do with a plugin that you can't do with an actual Whirly, as far as, distortion or effects. You can do it with an actual Whirly, but it's all like right there at your fingertips. You can really morph it into something that is called Whirly, but it's something else, and I think that people sometimes make the mistake of just comparing it and not letting each thing be what it is. And a lot of times the virtual stuff is better for what you're trying to achieve than something real. How do you know when the mix is done? You run out of time. you I tend to just walk away from them. There's a moment you hit something, or you turn something slightly down or up, or you dry something up, or you change an EQ thing, and it's all like there. I think it's important to walk away from mixes while you're mixing. Meaning, one thing I do, like just as a trick, is I'll leave it running and I'll go get a cup of coffee and just hear it just going, not really paying attention to it. Or bring somebody in the room. You'll be surprised how different a mix sounds just when, you ask, a friend to come in the room and check it out. It's like you hear everything that's wrong with it. And even just taking a 5-minute break or a 10-minute break from a mix will open up your eyes to everything that needs to happen. And you can generally do that, in half an hour, just really tweak it. The path I recommend for people who are coming up is it's twofold or threefold. There's number one, get an education. Even if it's either music business or even if it's not an actual music production, but don't skip the education part. However small it may be, just to be able to share with other people, other like-minded people that are at your same level, at your same age, is a really powerful thing to have happen in your life. Number two is just produce. Don't be afraid of it. Record your friends, record your neighbors, just make music. And then the last thing is, I always tell people, if you want to break into the business, find out what it is that people don't like to do and do that really well, and you'll get work. So if people don't like tuning vocals, learn how to tune vocals. If people don't like editing, learn how to edit. Learn how to do a lot of things that people don't know how to do, and go reach out to people that are in the business and have careers and say, hey, I want to go intern for you, and ask them, what is it that you hate the most? And I'm managing some producers now, and I'll give you an anecdote. I have a producer that I'm managing now who has I think the 4th most played song on Spotify worldwide right now. And he started working with me because I hated installing plugins and software. He called me up and he's like, I'm looking for an internship. I said, do you know how to install, plugins on Pro Tools? He's like, yeah, he got the job, and now he's a producer in his own right, with hits, and that's it. He got his foot in the door just doing stuff that other people didn't want to do. I mean, I'd rather be down at the bar drinking a beer than installing a plugin. I'll pay somebody to do that.